It is Friday, October 22nd, and we have a few brand new Nintendo Switch stories we got to talk about today, starting with Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition actually getting official release dates, and a physical version is confirmed, and there's some notable upgrades that I want to share with you guys around this trilogy. Then we also have to cover a major game that has officially been delayed until spring of 2022 on the Switch that was previously slated for a December release, and the big talking point for today's video is Nintendo Switch Online and what we could potentially see from Nintendo when it comes to the future of this service. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're covering a few different stories today, and I want to start it off with Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition, and I would love to show you guys the new trailer that dropped today, but freaking Take-Two Interactive loves to hand out copyright claims whenever you use their trailer to promote their games. So unfortunately, I cannot add in the trailer for you guys, but I will have some gameplay footage, and then I'll also have some comparison screenshots because, to my surprise, the first positive note of the new information we got about this trilogy today is that the graphics are actually significantly upgraded. There are definitely better textures involved. The lighting is absolutely what hopped out to me more than anything else, as you can see reflections and really just the overall pop of colors in this game compared to the originals. And of course, the higher resolution just helps out, and it does not look like traditional PS2 games anymore. They definitely went ahead and put in what I would consider is enough work to resell these games at full cost, as they are asking $59.99 for this entire bundle of 3 classic games. But I do think that they've at least put in the work that they need to justify that asking point. You know, there's still some unanswered questions like what will we see from the soundtrack, because obviously that is very iconic, but with things like classic soundtracks in video games, that is one of the harder things to accomplish, as there is a ton of licensing red tape to actually get those soundtracks carried over and renewed for current distribution on a new installment. We recently saw Tony Hawk's 1+2 remaster come out, and that did a great job at keeping many of the classic tracks. It was definitely missing a few, but it had enough in there where you really didn't notice it. It didn't feel like you were missing out on many of the classic tracks that you heard from back in the day, and I certainly hope that Rockstar has secured enough of the licensing rights for the soundtrack overall. Now, a couple other notable pieces of information that we got from it, besides the fact that it is of course upgraded and remastered, it was indeed built in the Unreal Engine. There are some extra control upgrades, and they describe it as Grand Theft Auto 5 style controls, but we do know like lock-on targeting will be a thing that's included in there, and then even gyro aiming. So apparently, you know, I don't know if that's on all platforms. I think it is, but definitely with your Switch Joy-Cons, that's been confirmed that you can actually go ahead and use the gyro controls to aim if you would like to. Another thing that we had previously reported on this game was there was a retailer that was suggesting that this would indeed get a physical release, and that is a big deal for me. And even though it is not day and date with the actual launch of the game, I will still wait and pick up this physical release instead, as that is always how I prefer to buy my games when possible. And I will definitely be picking this up on the Switch, as it will be out on all platforms on November 11th digitally, and then it will be released physically on December 7th. So those are the dates that you can put into your calendar if you want to actually pick this up. I definitely will be picking up the physical edition on December 7th. I do wish we didn't have to wait and it was a day and date release, but this is becoming more and more common as we slowly progress towards a future of all digital gaming. And the other thing about this is, if you are going to download it, and we will talk about Nintendo Switch download speeds later in the video, but there is a whopping 25.4 gigabyte file size for the Nintendo Switch on this thing, so make sure you're blocking out some time to actually allow it to download, because yeah, with the Switch, that is definitely on the higher end of file sizes that we ever see come to the platform. So I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below what you think about the comparison from the old graphics to the new, how you're feeling about it being the full price $59.99, and if you will be planning on picking this up either digitally or physically at release. Now, the next story I want to share with you all is actually one around a major Nintendo Switch title that we were originally expecting to come out in December of this year, and we now have official confirmation from Nintendo themselves that this will indeed be delayed until spring of 2022, and that is none other than Advance Wars Reboot Camp 1+2. And you know, this is one that a lot of fans are definitely looking forward to, as it is a nostalgic game if you played it on the Game Boy Advance at the original run of its release, and this is definitely a from the ground up remake, and I am very much much looking forward to playing through this the first time, as I did not play the originals back on the Game Boy Advance. I had only heard great things about them. I definitely skipped over a lot of handheld classic titles because I was mainly a console gamer, and the way that I played the big ones like the Zeldas and the Pokemon were out there on the Game Boy Player on the GameCube. So that's how I experienced many of them, and for me, I did not ever end up picking up the Advance Wars games, and I know they have created a fan cult classic here because people were pumped when this thing was announced at the E3 Nintendo Direct, and it is unfortunate that we will have to wait a little bit longer to get it, but it just means that we're going to get that much more stacked of a 2022 year when it comes to Nintendo Switch titles. And I would really love to hear from fans of the series how you feel about the delay, and you know, if you're still going to be planning on picking it up when it does come out in the spring window of 2022, and what your overall impressions are so far of the game, because there is a lot of footage out there that you can go in and look at between the reveal trailer for it, and then even Nintendo featured it in their Treehouse portion of their E3 event. So there's a lot of gameplay to be seen here, and it does look beautiful. It definitely looks like it's not something that they're taking lightly and just throwing out there with minimal effort. Like, they are definitely going to try to, I think, market this game very well, as it is one of those sleeper classics that not everybody has had a chance to play or has even heard of. So again, in the comments down below, share with me your guys' thoughts on everything around Advance Wars Reboot Camp 1+2, and if you will be planning on picking this up at its spring release. Now, the last thing I want to share with you all, and really the big talking point for today's video, is one around Nintendo Switch Online and expansion pack pricing once again. And this kind of came back into the news, or at least on my radar, due to a podcast that went live today from Nate the Hate and MVG, and I will have it linked in the description down below. And I definitely recommend you guys to go check it out, as it does a great job as far as a long form discussion around what Nintendo initially rolled out to consumers, what they could kind of do to course correct, and then maybe, you know, the real reason why a lot of people are not finding the value in this service. As if you guys have been under a rock or haven't seen online, there is a lot of controversy around the $50 annual price for this expansion pack service. So there were a few very good points from the podcast that really got me thinking, and it's, you know, really what I've communicated in previous videos, but I kind of want to explain it to you guys in a way that maybe hopefully makes sense to everyone. I know if anytime you bring this up online, you're going to have two camps. You have people that say Nintendo is always doing the right thing and that they are always consumer friendly, and it's absolutely worth it to them because this only breaks down to just over $4 a month if you break it down into a monthly price. And then you have the camp kind of like where I fall, where unfortunately I am going to pay the price, and I know that's a controversial statement too, because people are going to say, well, how are you going to say that it's not worth it and then also pay it? It's like, well, you know what, Nintendo knows they have me enticed to this thing just purely for nostalgia factor, because I grew up playing Ocarina of Time like over and over and over. I probably beat that game upwards of 30 times or more when I was a kid. 100% runs nearly every single time, so they know they have me with that, and that's kind of why I am paying the price. But it also creates this really interesting topic around how close this $50 annual price point is to the competition now, with what Sony and Microsoft charge at a $60 annual price for their online services, and the robust features that they offer when it comes to just things you expect in 2021, such as voice chat. It's very basic, but it's something that could really add a lot of fun to the Nintendo Switch platform. You know, you even have things like it's very hard to discover new friends. You have to send them a 12-digit friend code. Nobody can look each other up. There's no kind of real community interaction going on. You know, even the Miiverse from the Wii U and 3DS era seemed more social than what we really have available to us on the Nintendo Switch. And a couple of the good points that they bring up are things like the lack of those features, but then also the fact that we even have some real issues with the basic netcode that Nintendo has running on their services. As if you don't know, everything when it comes to online play is peer-to-peer based. So that means that Nintendo is charging for an active online subscription service, and you know, when you go online to play with other people, you are not checking in with a server that Nintendo is hosting and paying to run, that typically makes games run smoother, such as you will find like in Fortnite and Quake as a couple examples. If you play those games on a Switch, you are going to a server, but all of the online play when it comes to Smash Bros, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and all of those first-party Nintendo IPs that we love to play online, they are running on peer-to-peer technology, which basically just means it is a rougher experience overall. They also have some real complications with download speed and upload speed, as there's been a lot of tests that have come out since this new dock was enhanced. and put out with an Ethernet port available since the Switch OLED's model, and this doesn't improve, or doesn't at least seem to improve, the download or upload speed for many people at all. MVG even mentioned that sometimes it was indeed worse through Ethernet connection, which is just mind-boggling to think. So obviously Nintendo has some infrastructure style stuff to work out here, and to be transparent, Nintendo has always kind of lagged behind the other guys on offering things like this. But you have to keep in mind that party chat and server-based online play was really brought in with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era of consoles. You know, we even had some rough draft versions of that on the original Xbox, and if you were really crazy, you could buy like a modem that you plugged into your PS2 that not many people did. But you know, that's really how far behind we are on the Switch now, and I think that a lot of consumers are seeing this bigger cash grab or bigger asking price as a problem when they haven't even done anything to the base online service as far as how we connect and communicate to each other. And you know, I've even seen some people comment things like, well, Nintendo's more marketed towards kids, so they don't want to deal with, you know, online chat and all of the stuff that comes along with that. And it's like, have you guys seen the games in the eShop? Like, some of the games in there are not marketed towards kids, and the console comes with parental control. So I'm all for Nintendo, and I'm a Nintendo guy through and through, but I can call them out whenever they're clearly dropping the ball. Like, they could absolutely add in party chat through the system and, you know, do it in a parental controlled way, that if you put it behind a pin code or age gate for kids to actually have access to that, it really should not be too much of a problem for, you know, us older adults who grew up with Nintendo that are now buying the Switch to be able to talk to each other through the platform, because using the smartphone app is definitely not the solution. Now, that's kind of my rant on that. I do know that Nintendo could eventually add this in. I wouldn't expect it to be around the corner anytime soon, but the interesting thing about this expansion pack decision that they've chosen to take is that it feels to me more of like an afterthought of the online functionality, and it turns it into something more like a Disney Plus, where they essentially charge a subscription fee for all of these classic franchises that they own, that they know there are enough people that are willing to pay that to support the service going forward. And that's fine if that's the approach that they're going to take, but it is definitely worth discussing that we should see a clear roadmap of what they are trying to do here, because if they kind of start to drop the ball like they did with the NES and SNES updates on games, this service quickly becomes less valuable, and you can really argue that they should have added in Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and even Game Boy Advance to the service to launch it with. Now, will we see those come later? Hopefully, and hopefully if there is a lot of talk online and, you know, the dislike ratio on Nintendo's overview trailer for that service continues to climb, like maybe this does get on Nintendo's radar and they do commit to some kind of monthly update schedule for these games, and we know we're getting, you know, 1 to 2 brand new major N64 games every single month. Then we're getting like 3 brand new Sega Genesis games, and by the way, we're going to add in more systems, and we're going to add in things like more DLC packs for new games in the future. I think Nintendo can make this price point worth it. But where it stands right now, they are 26 million subscribers strong on the base NSO service, and they really haven't taken any of that revenue and reinvested it back into the core technology of how we play with each other online, and that's a big issue for me. But it is something that I, you know, obviously I'm going to continue to play on the Switch. I just play with friends on Discord when I want to talk, and that's an easy enough solution. But for a lot of people it isn't, especially if you don't have a computer sitting right next to your Switch, or, you know, you don't want to have like your mobile phone on speakerphone while you're playing your games. And now that we have Bluetooth support, like headsets would be the perfect opportunity right now to add this in there. And I do think that Nintendo will eventually do it. It's just something that while they're charging for an active online subscription, that we should see them do sooner rather than later. Now, when you look at it from the Disney Plus type of model where they're giving us content, you can argue that Nintendo definitely has to pay a lot for licensing fees to both Rare and Microsoft, obviously, for, you know, Banjo-Kazooie to come over, and we'll probably see more games hopefully added in from that as well. And then definitely to Sega to put their library of games, or at least some of their library of games, available on the Nintendo Switch, and to even license the Genesis controller to sell, which I'm sure Nintendo's passing that cost to us, because that freaking controller for 3 buttons cost us $50. But that's neither here nor there. I do think that Nintendo obviously has to pay for this, and I get that as a consumer. I just feel like as a multi-billion-dollar company like they are, they could eat some of that cost to actually entice more people to sign up, because this is clearly one of the most controversial decisions we have seen them make in quite some time time, as you know, there's always Nintendo fan backlash around certain things, like people freaked out about Skyward Sword's price, but I've never seen them actually get this level of heat from consumers and people calling to boycott and cancel, you know, Nintendo's practices altogether. Like, that's a really crazy thing to watch unfold. And, you know, it's just one of those things that's where I fall on it. Obviously, people are going to get mad at me in the comments. You can go ahead and do that. I'm still going to sign up for expansion pack, but I am doing that with the utmost hope that Nintendo will actually continue to update this service regularly, give us more features as time goes on, maybe eventually add in voice chat. We probably won't see it till next gen Switch, but I mean, they at least need to start working on it, and then hopefully add in more DLC packs, as that Animal Crossing DLC is an interesting addition if you really stop and think about it. Like, are they really gonna just stop with that DLC pack and not give us any other ones? Like, I definitely think this sets a precedent that they can continue to add DLC packs, and they may even shift certain ones out of there. Like, maybe by next year Animal Crossing doesn't come with it anymore as far as the DLC portion, but now we have some new DLC for another title like Splatoon 3, or, you know, you name the title. But basically, you know, we could see Nintendo continue to add value and evolve this service, and that is my biggest hope, that they will do that. Obviously, you could say that we've been proved wrong in the past with their update schedule on NES and SNES, but I'm just hoping that Nintendo does hear the fans and their frustration with this decision and actually try to go above and beyond with new consoles, new DLC, and new additions to this online service overall as a whole. So that's where I land on the issue. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below whether you are pro this decision for Nintendo and you're signing up. Share with me why you're excited about it, or if you're on the other camp where you are just super furious with Nintendo and don't want anything to do with their online service anymore. I would love to hear how they could fix this for you. I've even seen some people mention Virtual Console 2.0 coming back. I would love to see that as well. I don't think we will, because Nintendo's definitely shifting to this subscription model, but, you know, share with me where you land on this, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle, kind of like I am, where you're upset with the pricing, you don't quite see the value yet, but you do think that hopefully over the course of the next year that they will build into a valuable enough service for you to justify it, and you're just going to gamble the $50 and sign up for the year anyway. So I do look forward to hearing from all you guys in the comments down below, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. It's gonna do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.